Thinking a minute. Okay, so welcome today. I am Mrs. Bennett, principal at Bradshaw Mountain Middle School, and we are interviewing a few of our teachers that this past year have implemented and been utilizing proficiency skills in the classroom. And this is part of our journey as a school with our high reliability schools, our level 4 with standards reference grading. We know our proficiency skills really support teachers in planning, creating assessment, providing feedback. But it is a new line of thought, and we appreciate Mrs. Tubera being here to answer questions and tell us about her first year and what really kind of second year with proficiency skills. And Ms. Tetro, our instructional specialist, being here to answer some questions. So thank you, ladies. All right, so Ms. Tetro, do you want to go ahead and get started with a couple questions?
Sure. All right, Mrs. Tubera, how do proficiency scales affect your classroom instruction?
The proficiency scales give me a direction for my classroom instruction. So knowing what the end goal for the students are, so having a better understanding of the standard, and then not just knowing the end goal, but the various steps, the minimally proficient, the partially proficient, the academic vocab that needs to go along with it. All those different pieces are part of the proficiency scale. So using those kind of milestones or mile markers as I go through gives me a direction for my instruction.
Nice. How do you introduce proficiency skills to your students? So you're starting a new unit, or how did you train your students? Explain what that process looks like.
That's definitely a challenge to present it in a way that makes sense to the students. So this year, the way that this is my second year using them in the classroom, the way that I had presented it this year, it was an activity that I showed to kind of give them the goal, the purpose of the proficiency scale. And we started off by watching videos of babies learning how to walk. And that was kind of fun because the kids got a good laugh out of it. But it put the proficiency scale into terms that were very simple for them. So asking them, what was the goal? The goal was the baby was trying to walk. What did the baby do wrong? What does the baby need to be able to do well before the baby can walk? So putting it in terms that was really simple for them, I think they were able to grasp what the concept of it was a little bit better. And then I try to incorporate and bring back the proficiency scale throughout instruction as much as I can.
Nice.
How, using and bringing in those proficiency skills, how do you provide feedback for your students using the proficiency scale?
Depending on what the target was. So sometimes your assessments are not proficient assessments. Sometimes it's to make sure that they have the partially proficient level of understanding first. So going back to the scale and telling them, this is the piece that you had missed, or according to the scale, you were supposed to be able to do this, but you instead did this piece. Like it gives a common language, I guess. Buy-in for the kids, though, is definitely a challenge. That's something that I haven't quite figured out yet.
What do you mean by buy-in just with the skills or the unit buy-in? Explain that buy-in piece.
My kids don't understand the scales. So using them, introducing it, referencing them frequently, I still struggle with getting the students to realize what the importance of the scale is, realize what the scale actually tells them, the importance of it all. Like they really don't they don't grasp that piece, or they did this past year. So it's there, but trying to get the kids to know why it's there and use it as a tool also has been a challenge.
Okay. Like it's their checklist to learning. They can equate it with the baby walking, but not that this is me walking through this process. Do you think that maybe, like adjusting some of our format to more student-friendly verbiage, or just they're trying to buy into their own ownership of their own learning?
I think student-friendly language is helpful. Obviously, want it in something that's attainable to them, so that they can understand by reading it. And I think consistency too. Like if I'm using it in one class and I'm the only class they see it in, it's hard to kind of like cement the purpose of it, because then it seems like it's only something that like, you know, this one teacher does. So I think if they were able to generalize what the proficiency scale was across multiple subjects, it would click more for them as, oh, this is a tool versus this is something that that teacher uses.
They would start to see the purpose and understanding, which is our goal. So that's part of why we're doing this today, to get more consistent across our campus. So thank you.
Maybe, you know, one teacher is better at getting through to the kids, you know, that they really buy into it in this class. And it'd be cool to say like, well, what did you do to get the kids to understand it a little bit better? Because that's definitely something I'm struggling with.
That is a very real struggle. What support or resources do you feel that you need moving forward? So year one, you practice a couple skills. Year two, you use more skills. What do you feel kind of like that you need more information, help, or support in to help really optimize the use of proficiency skills, as the research says, you know, the value in them? What do you feel you need to get to that point?
I need to, like I said, learn how to get the kids to engage with it more. Just how do I get it to them?
Good. Okay. I think that's a really great question. Hopefully we'll be able to figure out that by the end of next year. We'll have some more feedback or information. Anything else that, like as far as creating proficiency skills, or my last question would be, how do you use the skills in creating some of your assessments?
So, I mean, that's the proficiency scale is the goal. So your assessment should be based off of what the proficiency scale says. So when you write the proficiency scale, you have those different skills built in, like describe, compare, create. And so knowing what the level, like the depth of understanding needs to be for the kids, what exactly that skill that's associated with that standard needs to be, tells you how the assessment should go.
Good. So it is a nice planning tool. Well, appreciate your time today. Thank you. Thank you for being willing to go on this journey.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You have to hit stop.
I'm working on it again. Gotta find my